Art and Fashion. I'm here today with Jessie Valentin, aka Ratgrrl. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
All right.
Good to be here.
Good to have you here. Thanks for coming on the show.
Sure.
So you're a fine artist, and tell me a little bit about your work.
It's funny that you say fine artist because I have no formal training. I'm just a self-taught artist, and I'm heavily influenced in like graffiti art style and comic book art. But I make collage. I even use furniture as my canvas. So I use a lot of acrylics, obviously paper, stencil, stuff like that. And I've done all sorts of different shapes and sizes of art, large scale kind of graffiti style pieces, and then, small kind of collage works. So that's what I like to work in.
Okay, and you've also incorporated a lot of like painting and kind of pop art elements into your pieces.
Definitely.
Can you go into a little bit of what inspires some of your artwork?
Sure. It's to add a positive spin, it's a lot of love. I'm inspired by love on all different ends. There's lost love, there's just, love of monsters, love of just weird, weird stuff. So I would say for some of the series that I'm working on, or that I've just recently worked on, I would say Lost Love. I did a monster series where it was called Monster Mash, a Lost Love series. It was at Ripe Art Gallery in October, and that was based on the lost love of my first husband, Rob, and then I also did some public art in Riverhead through Jumpstart, East End Arts, and also for the Pac-Mac Festival in Patchogue, and that was just, it was more love of humanity. It was, I put king and queen motifs all over outdoor areas, just to make people feel like, anybody's a king and queen, and to kind of feel that love throughout cities that are, just starting to kind of come back to life.
Are those the pieces with like the chess pieces that are in there?
Yeah.
Okay, so that's kind of symbolic for the king and queen.
Yeah, so I used I used royal images, and not just your European royal images. I used some Mayan royal images and African royal images, as well as unusual ones like cards and chess pieces. The king and queens of those, just to and also in different. I use Spanish and English just to convey, especially in Riverhead and Patchogue, that those have large populations of Hispanic people. And being Latina myself, I just wanted to kind of incorporate all of that into, incorporate the love of all of those people in the neighborhoods. So it was awesome.
Yeah, very nice. I saw also it looked like a few of those pieces were up in Patchogue as well.
Yeah. For the Pac-Mac Festival, I had some work in the actual Patchogue Arts Council gallery. I had a graffiti piece that I had done for Ripe Art Gallery that I moved over there for a little bit. And then I had some work in Pop Mart, which was the pop-up gallery that they had. And then the big thing was the outdoor pieces, which actually are still currently at some locations outdoors in Patchogue. And even some of the Riverhead locations are still there as well. Some of the businesses have decided not to take them down, or not to take them down for now. So so you could still go check them out if you want.
Have you exhibited in Patchogue before? Is that
I showed a few times at the Art Space Gallery. So, and that's, there's in the Art Space buildings, there's the Patchogue Arts Council Gallery, and then the Art Space Gallery. The Art Space is curated by the people who live there. So a few times I've shown in the other gallery. It's a really great space, and it was an honor to, I'm from Patchogue, Medford, so it was an honor to kind of have my work shown in my hometown.
Now, what was Pac-Mac all about?
Pac-Mac was the Patchogue Arts Council Music, Art, and Cinema. So it was a festival that kind of tried to bring all aspects of artistic culture at least for the week. But Patchogue is doing a pretty good job of doing that all year round. So they had the festival, and they tried to bring in all sorts of artists from all over the island, all over the place, just to take part.
Yeah,
It was
yeah.
really cool to be a part of it.
Yeah, no, I just drove through a couple of weeks ago and I was like, wait a second, I know that piece.
Yeah, yeah.
That's Ratgrrl's piece.
Yeah, it
And
was
then
really fun. It's fun because it was even some of the people that I know that saw the Riverhead, pictures but couldn't get there were able to come out to the Patchogue one. And, as you walk around the main part of town, you see them all over the place. They're like it's like a little treasure hunt. You find treasures all over the place.
Yeah, yeah.
So it was cool.
Yeah, that's really nice that they're doing that.
Yeah, yeah.
You said you did an exhibit at Ripe Art Gallery as well,
Yeah.
and that was an entire body of work, and I
Yeah.
saw that as well. And it had these, it was painted beautifully with these like monsters that were very kind of pop art-ish, very comic book related, as
Yeah.
you said.
Yeah.
And that was a great series to have seen there. How was your
Thank
experience
you.
at the Ripe Art Show and having the opening there? And
It was amazing. I love Sherry. I've showed at a few, a piece or two here at some of her shows. I think she's amazing, and she shows a really diverse group of artists. She doesn't just show the traditional, like, beachy Long Island artists who are great. I love them. Like, I love beach scenes, but we are, we're not just a beachy culture. We're right near New York City, so we have all of this, good energy that is interested in all different kinds of work. So she really taps into that. So I was happy and proud. She kind of got me started in my monster show. I showed her. I have one piece. It's called Frank and Rob, and it's supposed to be Rob, my first husband. He's Frankenstein. So in all the pieces, either I'm the monster or he's the monster. So it was a Frankenstein piece, and I told her that I had an idea to do a series I had already done sketches of, a monster series, and she's like, if you do the series, I'll have a show for you. And it was like the catalyst. It got me started,
Creating.
and then it's been almost 2 years of working on my monster series, as regularly as I can. So it was definitely a labor of love. I felt so happy that I got to show with Jay Stewart and David Graham. They're amazing artists, so it was really exciting.
yeah,
We're a weird group together, and it was like the perfect October show.
Yeah, it really was. That was an amazing show. It was almost a narrative with your pieces, and it
Yeah.
was very powerful and very emotional, like looking through it,
Yeah.
knowing a little bit of the backstory about the lost love, and then like reading it and understanding like really kind of
Yeah.
what happened and what you went through and everything like that was very strong. Did you?
It's definitely was emotional to do, from the first piece to the last piece, and for people that know the story. And I mean, the story is pretty brief and sad. I was married, happily married, and my husband had a mental illness, and unfortunately, he took his own life after we were together about 5 years. So it's kind of the story of our love, and it's done in a way, it's me dealing with my grief as best as I can, in a way that is not all doom and gloom. I tried to make it colorful and silly, but at the same time, sometimes when you read some of what I've written in there, it kind of like is hard to deny the sadness that's behind it. So
Did you
he had a
find
love
it?
of movie monsters. So
Did you find it therapeutic to do the series?
oh
Did it-
yeah, 100%, 100%. I feel like it's such a good way. It was such a good way for me to get through that grief, but also I didn't even know. David Graham actually texted me the other day saying that someone that he knows had it as their one of my pieces as their screensaver, and it reminds them to, know that their grief is okay. So it's so funny that something that, made sense to me to create is kind of a reminder that you get through grief and that, it's painful, but you could either turn it into something beautiful, or that you're not always going to be as deep in that sadness as you are right now. So it was pretty cool to make. It was definitely cathartic, and I'm proud that I was able to make that and honor Rob and have that kind of living now.
Yeah, I think that's what's beautiful about like a lot of art is both when the artist is creating it, it's therapeutic for them as well as the audience who then reads the pieces. It relates to a lot of people, and then not only are you providing that kind of therapy for yourself, but also for anybody who's seeing it. And it's like, I've felt that before. I've experienced something like that, and they can relate to it, and they could get some sort of like connection with somebody else that they've gone through that.
And I feel like they might even get their interpretation might be different based on, the images I've used or the words I've used, and they might see it in a way that I've never even seen it before. So it's a cool thing. It was definitely a huge source of pride for me, 2 years working on it, and just, you marinate in those feelings and you kind of marinate in that for a while, and that's good and bad for you, to be stuck in that sadness. But it definitely helped me, kind of move past some of those, some of those sadnesses that I was stuck in for a few years. So it was pretty good.
Now that series was a narrative, and you said you had the kings and queens pieces. Do you usually work with like a narrative or a theme for your bodies of work?
I have some stragglers that, I kind of created out of nowhere, and I love them. But I do like to work. With either a story or a concept. It just it makes me feel like I have a train of thought. So it definitely helps me.
Are there any other like trains of thoughts or stories and concepts that you've incorporated into your work?
I mean, the monster's a big one. Royalty's a big one. I have some ideas for some concepts. Some of it's fan art. I love Twilight Zone. Me and my now husband, Darren. We love Twilight Zone when it's on, and if you watch it on Netflix. So I actually had an idea of some Twilight Zone pieces to work on, like a series of that. I'm always trying to think of, I have a lot of little mini series written down in my sketchbook of different things that I want to work on. I'm actually just trying to enjoy taking a break for now.
To reset for the next series.
Between the summer and the fall, I had I had the two outdoor installations, of the royalty work, and then the Monster Mash. So I'm kind of tired.
Where else have you exhibited?
I exhibited I've shown at Greenpoint Gallery in Brooklyn. I showed at the Pancakes and Booze show, which is actually a traveling show. They travel throughout the country. I showed in New York City. And I've showed at some, local Long Island galleries. I did a show, Endless Summer. I had 2 pieces in, what was the name of the gallery? It's in Long Island University. So, yeah. So I'm trying to kind of be all over the place. I showed at Eternal Con, which was super fun. That's like right up my alley. So it was awesome.
What are you excited for in the future with your art?
Oh my God. I think next year I'm going to start working on another series. I'm not sure which series I've chose out of my sketchbook. Right now, my husband has cancer and he's going through chemo. So I actually think I'm going to, now he's going to find out, but I'm going to work on his Hanukkah present. So I'm going to make him a few pieces. I made him, when he first got diagnosed a few years ago, I made him a Valentine. And it was just a collaged Valentine. So I'm going to make him a few pieces. I kind of feel bad. I was making so many pieces about my first husband that, I got to show love to the
current. Honor your
current
love.
Exactly. So that's probably what I'll be working on for a little bit.
Okay. And what are your favorite mediums to work in? You said you did collage, acrylic.
I love paper. I have a collection of just random paper from wherever, just papers, newspapers, magazines, whatever. So I love working with paper. I love the feeling of ripping it apart and just putting everything back together in my own way. I work with acrylics. I actually also work a lot with spray paint, or when I paint furniture, it's either oil-based paint, spray paint, latex paint. So I've been, furniture is hard to work in because I have to bring it in my house, and then it takes a long time to, work on. So, but I do work on furniture. That's fun. Chairs. So I kind of work in all different areas. But I would say I love to put my little respirator on and spray paint. That's
you do
super fun.
some digital work as well, too.
Yeah,
correct?
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's actually pretty much most of my royalty series. The Ratgrrl royalty series was all digital. I've actually been enjoying working in in digital, because then everything, like, my stuff's not all over the place. I can kind of just, work on my computer, and I've been enjoying that. I feel like it's very similar to collage. I'm kind of taking images and then putting different pieces into them. So I kind of feel like I call it digital collage because I can't think of any other appropriate thing to call it.
Because you kind of do the same thing that you would physically be doing
Exactly.
with scissors, paper, and
Yeah,
glue.
yeah. And some of the digital works started out as collages that I got frustrated with, and then I scanned them into the computer and then manipulated once they were in there. So.
Now, what inspired you to start? You said you had no formal training, so what
Yeah.
inspired you to start making art and then putting it out there?
The start from back in the day when I was like 15, I used to thumb through women's magazines that my mom had at her house, and I was a young feminist, and I would be annoyed by the things that I saw in the magazines, and I would actually rip them, rip pieces apart that were particularly aggravating to me or, ironic to me, and I would keep them aside. And then I did make, unfortunately, when I moved, I had thrown out a few of the pieces that I made. I did make a series of a few images that were made from those original pieces that I had ripped out when I was 15. So they're just these pieces that are put together. I have a big collaged pair of lips at my house. That's the one piece that, survived, me throwing out some of my work, unfortunately. And it's a big pair of lips, and it's collaged all these like infuriating things that I found in these women's magazines. So that's probably what got me started, and what got me started loving collage. And then I took a hiatus between, my husband getting sick. I got married very young, so I took a hiatus from that. And then I wrote a lot during that time. So that was the thing that helped me kind of stay sane. So, and then I transitioned back to the first love.
And then has any of that writing that you've done during that time been incorporated into the work later?
Totally, yeah. Some of the quotes or the things on the Monster Mash pieces are actually things that I wrote from back then.
Oh wow, so it comes together a little bit full
Yeah,
circle.
definitely. And actually, some of them helped me develop the work. I have a Godzilla piece that I made, and a short poem that I had written during the, Rob years of sadness while he was still alive, that made it into the Godzilla piece. That was kind of the catalyst for the Godzilla piece. So that was cool.
Now, you also go by Ratgrrl. Where did that come from?
It's so funny. Ratgrrl is really just a nickname that I got at my first job. My boss would call me Ratgrrl. I just wore my hair in 2 big buns, and he just started calling me Ratgrrl, and it stuck. And then sometimes when I love hip hop culture. I love the graffiti style. So I don't know why, you make up this story in your head about like what your tag name would be or whatever, and that just seemed like the most appropriate name. Yeah. So I go by Ratgrrl just because I feel like it fits me.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, if anybody wanted to see more of your artwork or get in touch with you about a show or a commissioned piece, where could they reach you?
All right, you guys could reach me at ratgrrl.com. It's spelled Ratgrrl, not GIRL. So I'm Jessie at ratgrrl.com. You can find me on Facebook. I'm facebook.com/ratgrrl. And then Instagram and Twitter, I'm Ratgrrl_. So.
Okay, and just there's a couple of ways to spell Jessie. How do you spell it?
Oh, Jessie. So.
Okay.
Yep.
All right, wonderful. Is there anything else you'd like to add and tell us about your artwork, or
No,
that pretty much cover it?
just come visit and say hi.
Okay, well, thank you so much for coming on the show. It was really great to have you, and now I have so much of a better understanding of all your pieces and really
Awesome.
what you've done.
Thanks
So,
for having me.
Yeah, thank you for coming, and I hope you all tune in next week for the Daily Blue and Art and Fashion. Thank you so much.
Thanks. Yeah, that was awesome.